I think, like me, you think that software development is hard and you need smart people to do it, and you need to let the smart people do it.
What a concept! Yeah, what a concept! I remember back. I haven't actually heard this in a while, but back when I first started talking about Agile, somebody would come up to me and say, "Yeah, but isn't it true that you can't do this at all unless you have a bunch of smart and motivated people?"
Yeah.
I'm going, yeah. You can't do anything if you don't have a bunch of smart and motivated people. What's your point? That we need to be able to hire idiots and have them follow scripts, and that's not going to work? So that doesn't work with any kind of software development, no matter how you do
it. Yeah. I once had a career review in one of the organizations that I worked in, and the feedback that I got was, Dave has shown that you can work well with the best people, the best teams, but he's yet to prove that you can work with people that are less capable. And I said, I don't want to. I'm not interested in that part. That was a long time ago.
That's one answer. The other answer that I would give in that situation is, so let's make the less capable people more capable.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's one of my things. So I have a partly because of the continuous delivery thing, I have a bit of a bad reaction to feature branching, because it delays feedback. It gets in the way of the clarity of whether our stuff is, and I don't think it's compatible with continuous integration, which we both value very highly. So, but one of my things is, if you're using that because if you're using feature branching so that you can do pull requests, so that you can kind of gatekeep access to your production system because you don't trust your teammates, your problem is the trust, not the version control system. So fix the trust problem and get the people trustworthy to work with. It's a cultural problem. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I hear this a lot from people that are coming from Eastern Europe for some reason. But there's this I think of as the myth of the slacker. Mm-hmm. Right, is that they're constantly bringing up slackers, right? We can't do that because people will not work. They'll take advantage of the situation and sit on their butts and not work. And I usually say, have you ever actually seen that? And the answer is, well, no. So why are we talking about it, right? But maybe they do see it occasionally. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw a great blog post a few years ago, which was talking about servant leadership, and the woman that wrote it, I can't remember her name, but I did enjoy it. She said it's not really like it's not servant leadership. It's more like hosting a party. You kind of put out all of the stuff and you put the drinks and you hope that people will have a nice time, and occasionally you've got to throw out the drunks. I quite liked that as an analogy.
Yeah, but even throwing out the drunks, you could argue, well, this is is a valuable person to have when they're not drunk. So let's work on that drunks thing, right? In other words, you can when I see people that are quote underperforming. Mm-hmm. Almost always the problem is one of training and mentorship, not inherent personality problems.
Yeah.
And, I see so much active dysfunction around that. Individual performance reviews, which end up with finger pointing, you better get better or else. Mm-hmm. And then Amazon has this insane thing where somebody is quote underperforming. What they do is give them an insane amount of work to do, and if they don't finish it on time, they're fired. Yeah. What the hell is this about? Right? Is that the proper response to somebody who's underperforming is to find out why and fix it. Yeah. Something they don't know. Maybe they're just in the wrong job. That's fine. Let's find something else for them to do somewhere else in the company. Mm-hmm. But the point is that people, for the most part, want to do a good job. They're competent. They want to be happy. They want to be doing something that's satisfying to them. So let's figure out how to make that work and do it. And it's not about punishment. And the throwing out the drunks part goes to punishment too easily sometimes. Is that is that there are a lot of steps that you should take before you go to punishment.
Yeah.
And the other direction happens too, right? Hiring is the teams ought to be able to hire their own people. It shouldn't be some manager hiring people. It certainly shouldn't be some human resources, I shudder at that term, but some human resources person hiring people. The very fact that they're using the word resources and human in the same sentence tells me that they've got no business hiring people.
Yeah.
But I once, back when I was doing more contract programming kind of stuff, was in an interview before to come up to a contract. And it was one of these kind of Google style interviews where they give them questions and answers. And this was some HR person reading the questions off a list. And she had a list of proper answers. And she asked me a question that was an exam question that I had invented and given to my class about 2 semesters earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It was my question. I invented it. And she gave me that question. Clearly, one of my ex-students was working for that company, and the question filtered into their HR department. And I answered it, and she said, "No, that's not the right answer." And the question was kind of complicated. I couldn't exactly explain to her why she was wrong. Right? The question, which is an interesting question this is an interesting exercise for anybody that is a C or a C++ programmer, is write the problem was write a function, a subroutine, that returns the size of its own stack frame in bytes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting exercise. And what am I going to do? Try and explain to her what a stack frame is? And what the address of a variable means, and how does recursion work, and all this other stuff that you need to solve that problem. I'm not going to be able to say to an HR person, "You're wrong because."
Yeah.
They just had the questions and the answers, the jumping through hoops thing. Right. So as long as we can't have agile companies as long as we're hiring from laundry lists and doing these ridiculous Google intelligence tests, and whiteboard interviews and all this other craziness, which doesn't do a damn thing. And we started talking about the firing side. The hiring side, if a team says to somebody, "We looked through your resume and you look pretty good, come in and work for us for a morning and we'll pay you."
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's going to give you useful information.
Yeah.
No amount of whiteboard, and it's agile, right? Again, we are going to sort of work with somebody and incrementally make a decision about whether we want to continue to work with this person or not.
Yeah.
There are companies.
I worked in companies that did that. We used to take a very long time to hire people just to figure out whether they fit with the team.
Yeah, but even then, it doesn't have to take a long time. It's kind of like dating, right? If you go into a dating site and you try and pick somebody with those profiles, that's craziness. You can't, right? Within microseconds of meeting somebody whether you're going to get along or not. I think do it on paper for hours and it won't tell you that. Right?
So I think we've learned 2 important things about Alan. One is that he's worked for a lot of bad employers, and he's never had a bad date.
I had bad dates, but that's the point that I'm trying. That's the point that I'm making, right? If you're taking a dating site approach, right, where you have this giant catalog of people, and you're going through lists of skills and comparing it against your laundry list, right? This is very much the way hiring works in many organizations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.